I'm back with Chuck Norris. We didn't have time to run out and see your film, but we can see a bit of the early part of it right now. Can you tell us what we're about to see?
Yeah, what this is the opening of Sidekicks, and it's a dream sequence of the boy helping me out. And you don't realize that in the beginning, because we're right in the middle of a battle with all these ninjas dressed in black, and he and I are dressed in a white ninja outfit.
Oh, we don't know it's a dream right away.
You don't know it's a dream in the beginning, and then of course once we finish fighting all the bad ninja, and then the boy starts talking to me, then you realize it.
Here it comes right now. It's fine to me.
Yeah, it's fun. It was a fun scene to do.
Yeah, wish I were in it. I got aced out as the Karate Kid, and now this. I don't see you somehow as part of the Hollywood scene. Would you tend to be invited to Irving Lazar's Oscar party, that kind of thing? Or?
I get invited to to various Hollywood parties and Oscar parties and so forth. Mm-hmm. I'm a member of the Academy.
Yeah.
But
I guess I don't see you hanging out in the social scene that much.
I really don't. I have a ranch in Texas, and that's really where I spend most of my time when I'm not working. And plus I have a Kick Drugs Foundation in Houston. I spend a lot of time with my foundation. So
does that have a full title, Kick Drugs Out of America? Or
Kick Drugs Out of America Foundation is the actual title, which means that I work with inner city kids in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade levels, and we teach the martial arts as part of the physical education curriculum in these particular schools. I have 680 kids in my program, and these are, as a karate teacher for years, I taught a lot of kids, and I saw what the martial arts could do for them. I had kids in my classes who couldn't communicate with kids their age, or low self-esteem, over-aggressive kids, whatever the case may be. And through the martial arts, we were able to help many of these kids, most of them. But these were kids whose parents could afford to come to my school. How about the millions of kids that couldn't afford it?
Yeah.
So that's what this program is helping work with these kids whose parents can't afford the program.
How do you select them then? Because there must be an awful lot more that want to come in than you can handle.
Oh gosh, yeah. Each school, each school that we're teaching at, of course, the average is about 800 kids. We can only handle 150 per school. And so the teachers and the principal picks the kids. And it's all voluntary. They have to have their parents' permission. And what we found out is that out of all the kids in the school, that 90% of them want to be in our program. And that's the hard part, is picking the right, the 150 out of, say, 650 kids to be in the program. That's the hardest part of the whole thing. What's happening, of course, is, in the martial arts, you instill discipline and respect. And what is happening with these kids that we're teaching, you see that carrying over into their other classes, their English, math, history classes. Now they're responding to their teachers as yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, rather than yeah, no, and all this stuff here. Yeah. So it's carrying over. Interesting story. About 6 weeks ago, I went to one of the schools, which is the toughest school in Houston, Texas. And I went there for a belt promotion. And so we awarded the kids their belt that they'd tested for. And a mother had walked 2 miles with 2 infant children, 11-month and a 2-year-old child, to see her son get his gold belt. And how I even knew about this is after it was over, and it was in the evening, we were all leaving, and one of my instructors was driving down the street and saw her walking down the street with the 2 infants and the boy, and he picked them up and took them home. But what's happening is that the average turnout to a PTO meeting is 5% of the parents. What we're getting is 90% of the parents showing up for our events.
Great. It's really wonderful that you're doing that.
Well, you got to get the parents and the kids working together, and that's what's lacking in our society today, is parents and kids doing things together.
There is some crummy martial arts teaching too, isn't there? I mean, I know that any goon seems to feel he can put up a sign that says karate and put up a
there are
somebody busting a board.
Yeah, there are the Joe Piscopos, who the guy that Joe plays in this movie. Right. There are instructors like him who want go with a macho attitude and instill that in their students. That's unfortunate, but that is the exception to the case, though. And most, throughout our martial arts community throughout the country, those guys are exceptions to the rule.
Well, without presuming to psychoanalyze you, there are those who do. Do you feel that this whole life that you have now would be all utterly different if you had a father who had been there as a role model? Do you see any of this as compensation for that, or would you rather I'd shut up?
No, I don't know, Dick. To be truthful, I've often wondered if I hadn't been sent to Korea, if I hadn't studied the martial arts over there.
Yeah, you were an MP.
And I came back and started teaching. Which direction my life would have turned, I'm not really sure. But I think I believe in fate. I believe things happen for a reason. And I think there was a reason because I dreamed of this as a child. My dream, interesting enough, when I was a small child, we were very poor in Oklahoma, so couldn't buy toys. So I used to use my mother's clothespins. I had the big ones and the little ones. And I used to use them to do battle, to be fighting the bad guy. And always the small clothespins were the good guys. The big ones were the bad guys. But amazingly, as I used to fight, I used to do kicks and all this stuff here and jump down and kick the bad guys. And then all of a sudden...
All with clothespins?
With clothespins.
Yeah.
And then as I become an adult, now I'm doing it with the martial arts on the film and as a karate fighter and all that. So it's interesting how dreaming something as a child, doing all this, then all of a sudden that dream becomes a reality in my life as a martial artist.
But you weren't a martial artist when you were an MP in Korean War, right?
No, I wasn't in Korea. I went to Korea in 1960.
Where were you an MP?
Yeah, Osan Air Base in Korea. What had actually happened, I was going to be a police officer. And when I went into the military out of high school, I thought, well, I'll go into police work, military police, and then, get training in the police area and study correspondence and all that. And that was my goal, to go through 4 years as military police, get out and go right into the LAPD, eventually going into the FBI. That was my goal. And then, when I was in Korea, I thought, well, here's a great opportunity to learn a martial art. So when I become a police officer, I'll be able to handle situations on the street.
Right.
But again, the martial arts set me in a new direction. I became a karate martial arts teacher, and I gave up the idea of being a police officer. And then I became a karate teacher.
I don't know why I had this image of the Chuck Norris that was nothing like the Chuck Norris we know today, being pushed around as an MP and finally secretly studying karate.
I think what it was, probably a story, it was in my book, as a matter of fact, when I was an MP, before I went to Korea. I was stationed at this base, and I was an MP. I'm 18 years old. And there was a ruckus going on at the NCO club. And I was sent down there to quell the ruckus. So I go in there. Here's this big old sergeant, drunk. Big guy, like 6'6". I'm 5'10". I walk up to this sergeant, and I had 10 hours of martial art training in boot camp. I walk up to this sergeant, and I go, all right, Sarge, cool it. Next thing I remember was flying across the room, and this guy grabbed me, and I was like a missile flying across the room. And I hit the wall, and I slid down the wall, and he's coming at me now. He's coming to finish off the job, and I didn't know what the devil I was going to do. I thought I was going to get the...
Would getting out of there maybe have been a good idea?
I would if I could have, but I couldn't get out of there. And luckily, my NCO came in and stopped it. But I realized then that I wasn't prepared to deal with a crisis situation at that time. But then I went to Korea, and I took up the training to prepare myself.
If he'd killed you, there'd have been a lot of blank celluloid in the world now.
I'll tell you, I'd have been mad at him. I'd have been real upset if he'd have killed me.